Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor. And it's all the news on today's show. Newbury and Newcastle, both live on Sky Sports Racing, that we're going to be taking a look at. Being joined by both lads in the studio. Sam, you're back. How's your face?
Yeah, suitably recovered. Thanks, Kate. And yeah, the good news is...
What a start. Love it.
Good news is, sorry, from my sick bed, still managed to find a nice winner. Plenty of people giving me stick for thinking that State Man was invincible. And obviously, Lossymouth came out, which did make Brighter Days Ahead's task a little bit easier. But I'll reserve taking too much of the plaudits for last week's show because someone got a very big price winner.
Well, I'm not going to get to that point just yet. But yeah, you are definitely in good form despite your ailment. We're probably the three least sympathetic people, Dec, aren't we? So yeah, we'll give each other a bit of stick no matter what happens.
We are a bunch of animals in here. But yeah, what a start that was. Yeah, how's your face?
And a nice tip for you, though, as well, of course.
Yeah, last week was good. The Nap and the Next Best both went in and they won really well. Steel Ally was very good at Haydock, giving a good ride. And the Venetia Williams horse, Mortitar, bolted up again at Ascot. So a very good week for the show, but someone had a 22-1 winner.
Oh, we've teed it up for long enough now. Getting around to, I know, 22-1.
I couldn't believe the drift.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Well, I was obviously at Villa Park and then the message came through from Sam there into our group and I saw the SP of 22-1 for Shoot First. Wasn't anticipating that.
That's proof that drifters do win.
Exactly.
People don't think they do, but there you go.
We say it all the time, don't we? That don't let the drift alarm you, even for a horse like
very
that.
Very hard when it's a Charles Burns.
It is tricky, but clearly even they still go in then. So hoping for more success this week. Now, before we get stuck into the action properly, a reminder as ever to please do gamble responsibly. Our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will also do our best to point you in the right direction. Right, we're going to begin at Newbury with the 225. This is the intermediate handicap hurdle, Premier Handicap, otherwise known as the Gerry Feilden, of course. 4-year-olds and over 2 miles. Now, Nicky Henderson is seeking a 10th success. He runs 2 in this, including the favourite Jericho de Bromhead deck.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't see an awful lot of pace in here. Salver would be one of the pace angles, but he potentially might come out if the ground gets quicker. I suppose the racing on Friday at Newbury is going to be very important, isn't it? Just to see what kind of state we are in with the ground. Jericho de Bromhead, he could be very well handicapped, couldn't he? Especially on that lump sum form from last season. But I just wonder with him, you know, could this be a bit of a fact-finding mission?
Yeah.
It sounded like he lost the plot mentally ahead of his race at Sandown last time out, and then he jumped poorly and he's reverting back to hurdle. So I just thought maybe some of those to the top of the market could be taken on. And I'm going to take on Jericho de Bromhead with his stablemate, the 5-year-old mare, Aston Martini, who returned this season in great order at Bangor in a race that did not pan out well for her at all. And this is the race here. You can see there under Nico de Bonneville going to 4 out. She's travelling really well in good order, getting a lovely lead. But by the time they get to 3 out, the horse in front just cannot lead her long enough. She's in such good order. And Nico is in front way too soon. The race doesn't pan out great for him. But don't worry, lads, it gets absolutely worse for her. Because when she looks like she has the race in the bag going to the last, she makes an absolute meal of it. Something catches her eye, she jinxes it. Nico is all over the place. He did well to stay in the plate, to be fair.
Ooh.
Exactly. And now she's chin late to make it all worse. But I just thought she returned in great order. Looked like she was in good form with herself. Looked like a nice, happy horse. Sadly, she got chinned late, but, you know, plenty of positives to take. Nicky Henderson, I think, has won 4 of the last 10 renewals, 7 of the last 20. They go really well in this race. And I think he's actually 2 of the last 10 renewals he's won with 5-year-old mares, Epatante and Floressa. And I'm hoping he'll make it 3 in 11 with Aston Martini.
10-1 shot, Aston Martini for Dec. But it is interesting, Sam, on the Nicky Henderson front. The fact he's got the 2 representatives in here. Jericho de Bromhead 4-1, though. Is this a bit of a watching brief for him?
No, I think Dec's got the right stable, wrong horse. I'm quite happy to take a chance at 4-1 on Jericho de Bromhead. And if anything, my confidence will swell if the price shortens, as you can expect, because we're going to take a look back at the Doncaster effort last season. Now, if you remember, this was the run before the Supreme, and I think it went off at odds-on favourite this day, and everyone was a bit disappointed. But in reflection, I think this run is a lot better than we can kind of take out at the time. The second, obviously, we know what he's gone on to achieve. Runs in the Fighting Fifth this weekend, has already won this season. Looks a really, really good horse. I felt like Cheltenham, you can just put a line through. Now, listen, it's well documented what happened at Sandown now, but since then, I did check this, it is in print. The horse went off to Kempton, popped a few hurdles that day, has gone back round the racecourse. I think if you are prepared like I am to just put a line through that Sandown run, what price would he be coming here fresh?
Yeah.
You know, it'd be
9
short.
to 4 shot.
It'd be 9 to 4 shot. The record speaks for itself of what the stable have achieved in this race. So for me, I thought at the early prices we do this 4 to 1. If that gets any shorter, I'd be really intrigued. But I definitely want to make a play for Jericho de Repene. The others in there, the reason I had a few question marks, Salva I just can't really warm to at the price. And Queen's Gamble, I love the stable, but just at the moment, feels like they've gone a little bit cool at the moment. But she's a really nice horse. It's a good renewal, but for me, I'm quite happy to take a bit of a punt.
Yeah, that price could look massive, couldn't it? I know that he's already been clipped in there to 4 to 1 here, but as you've both just said, if it wasn't for that Sandown run, what price would he be coming here at? But it is the fact that he's coming here off of that Sandown run, which is why I was looking at this race initially and I saw him and I thought, well, goodness me, off of a mark of what, 135 he's running off of. If he is the same star performer from last year, he should have a bundle in hand.
Yeah, and it's not a strong renewal either, is it? To be
No, exactly. If those in behind, like he is this star standout performer. Like Salva has way achieved like anything more than we necessarily expected of him. But even with him there, the fact he's second in just goes to show that this is a golden opportunity for Jericho de Repene. However, it was bizarre, those whole series of events at Sandown. Like we've had the full explanation. I'm fully believing of every part of that. But it's just something that never quite works out going back over hurdles. Even though he's had the racecourse school, which is going to be a positive, but it's just an angle I just don't enjoy whatsoever, going back over hurdles after it's gone wrong over fences on Chase Davy. So even though I was going around the houses with this race, trying to take him on, I thought, oh, I'm just going to end up coming back to him. I have eventually given my head a little bit of a shake because I'm not going to do it to myself by siding with him in here. Queen's Gamble, Sam, who you just mentioned, Henry de Bromhead, who started the season so well. Now, they have, like I say, that hot form, it was never going to be sustainable. It has just plateaued off somewhat. But Queen's Gamble, now she's coming here fresh. We haven't seen her since December of last year when she won a Taunton listed contest, and she did that really impressively. She had £6 to find with the top weight or the highest rated in that race that day. Yet she still managed to beat that good field of mares. Now, she had a setback, which meant that she missed the Cheltenham Festival. I believe she was meant to go straight from Taunton to Cheltenham, but it was just a bit of heat in her leg. It was just, to my mind, the way it read, it was just the fact it was a small setback, but it was just terrible timing, which ruled her out for the rest of the season. Connection said, well, we want to have a mare for next year. And I think she could be very well treated off of this mark. So 13 to 2, I'd rather side with that price and let Jericho win at 4s, even though I've said that price could look big. So it's a really tricky one, isn't it? Really tricky, because he is an absolute spanner in the works. But Sam, you're with him.
Oh, I'm with it. And Nicky Henderson's stable form at the moment. Deck and me have got that in our favour as well. I think he'd probably be the hottest trainer in that race.
OK, and Deck, you're with?
I'm with Aston Martin, yeah.
OK, and I'm with Queen's Gamble then. It is just one of those races, isn't it, where you try and find a different angle in. Do let us know what angle you have found in for that one. Right, we're going to move on to the 3 o'clock at Newbury, the big betting heat of the weekend. The Coral Gold Cup Chase, Premier Handicap, 4-year-olds and over 3 mile 2. Broadway Boy and Senior Chief disputing favouritism. Now, Sam, you fancy one for last year's Winning Connections, I believe.
Yeah, it's a case of I'm hoping history will repeat itself. Same owners, same jockey, same trainer in Colonel Harry, who I think is a really fair price now at 15 to 2.
Yeah,
in this.
why is it 15 to 2 now?
I was maybe he was just a little bit too short. I think it's one of those markets where something's going to have to come clear. We'll see him at home with Jamie and the gang. And, you know, I think this has been the plan for a long time. Obviously, the Carlisle run to put the horse spot on, I thought was a really sort of kind of smart move. Is he well handicapped? I think he is, and I think he's just got a bit more to give. All I would say is this is not the most competitive of renewals, and I think that's the only thing I'm kind of a little bit aware of in terms of his chances. I want something a bit more unexposed. I feel like all the Irish horses in here aren't actually that well treated. Senior Chief, I can make a case for him, but I'd say Willie Mullins' horse, I don't even think it's on the betting. I thought that was harshly treated of 149. So I was going through trying to find the best handicap. The shortlist for me was Colonel Harry and the favourite Broadway Boy, who I'm a massive fan of as well. But for me, I just came down on Colonel Harry. I think he can improve again. He's got that unexposed profile, and I think he could just look well handicapped by the end of this. The step up in trip will suit, I think.
Who trains him?
Jamie Snowden, BetVictor brand ambassador, Deck, of course.
There you go, nicely teed up.
BetVictor brand ambassador.
Deck throws it up, Sam will hit it. There you go. That was nice as well, seeing him at home, a transition to the race course.
Yeah, it was a really good piece on the At the Races
really nice.
YouTube, and obviously Jamie trains in Lambourne. It's a great place to train, and always go.
He is a really likeable horse. Colonel Harry jumps.
So likeable,
great
so
attitude.
game.
Yeah, I can see him. But a bit like last year, I thought That's All Right Gino wouldn't stay, and then he went in. Then he went and won the race. I thought I was in the same kind of boat with Colonel Harry, but I came down on Senior Chief.
Okay then.
Who for some reason I've been calling Senior Chief.
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep
Spanish
saying
twist.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping he'll win there, and Henry de Bromhead will be in the winner's enclosure with a glass of sangria in one hand and a stick of chorizo in the other, celebrating with Senior Chief. But he was very good at Cheltenham, wasn't he, last time out? And I'm kind of doubling down on that Broadway Boy form, because I like Broadway Boy. I still think he's got a great chance, but I put him up last week 14-1 anti-post with the boost, so I'm in a good position there. But I'm with the Broadway Boy form. I just liked what Senior Chief did at Cheltenham last time out. Now I would say the race felt perfect for him. Darrow Keefe lined him up wide, and he was kind of got a couple of nudges over the first two fences and raced wide. But then after maybe 6 or 7 fences, he tucked him in down the inside, right behind the speed on the inner, popping away, and he just got a lovely trip. But to be fair to him, he absolutely bolted up at the line. Now it's a £9 higher mark, but he's a 7-year-old from a top yard and a nice big horse, so I think he can go in again despite that, despite the weight rise. I'm hoping so anyway. He's got a lot in his favour, and the Henry de Bromhead team have had a wonderful start to the season, so I'm hoping that will continue. And if that doesn't continue, I'm hoping Broadway Boy can get one. One of them, please.
Yeah, I'm with those same two, and I think we are along the very similar lines as a result of the trends for this. So Tracey's trends returns. It's a very sporadic feature at this point, but hoping that it will find us the winner then for the Coral Gold Cup. Now we've got the last 6 winners. You just mentioned Deck there. That's All Right Gino, last year's winner. Now the 3 specifics I've picked out for here are, of course, age, the official rating, and the amount of runs in that season as well. Now you can see from the age perspective, 7-year-olds have won 3 of the past 5 years, 8-year-olds being the other 2 in the past 5 renewals. Now the key rating is 148, that being the winning mark for That's All Right Gino and Sizing Tennessee to be exact, but a mark of around 146 to 149 is the sweet spot. The amount of runs in a season is also significant, that being 1, as you can see. 5 of the 6 on this screen came into this race on the back of 1 start in the campaign already. Now the horse that this landed me on was the aforementioned Senior Chief, who is a 7-year-old. Rated 151, so perhaps a bit high in the handicap. However, he comes here on the back of 1 start, and the added bonuses for Senior Chief that I'm doing it now. Senior Chief. He's not got a Spanish flair. Senior Chief is the fact that he also has a perfect turnaround time of 35 days. Winning last time out is also another big plus as well, as is a prominent racer. For all that has swung in the last 2 years a little bit for more hold-up performers, but he is still ticking the most boxes narrowly from Broadway Boy, so 6-1 and 6-1 joint favourites for the trends. But both of us, though, with Senior Chief and Sam, just to reiterate,
I'm with the Colonel Harry here. I think that price is pretty tempting now.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? 15-2 now for Colonel Harry. Yeah, slight drift then about him, but really game horse, and we would love to see him winning all the same. Really looking forward to that one. Do let us know your own selections in the comments section below. Right, we're heading north now, up to Newcastle for the 210, the Grade 1 fighting 5th hurdle, 4-year-olds and over 2 miles. Now, of course, because Constitution Hill was found to have a slight setback, wasn't it? The slight injury that he then suffered, so he's got his super subs to Gino taking his place. He is now the 4-5 favourite in this one, Deck.
Yeah, it's really interesting race, because at the 5-day stage, I think we had 11 in at the 5-day stage, and I was thinking, oh, we're going to have like a 4 or 5 runner race here, but amazingly it has stood up really well, so I'm delighted about that. And I'm especially delighted to see both Brentford Hope and Teller the Name in here, because if they weren't running, it was a race lacking in pace, and it would have been awful just having like a proper group Grade 1 fighting 5th where they just hacked around in those messy kind of races. Nobody wants to see that. But I don't know about you guys here, but I think Mystical Power should be favoured over Sir Gino for a number of reasons. Reason number one is I think he's got the stronger form. On my own ratings, I've got Mystical Power on 151. I've got Sir Gino on 147. Now, look, they're both young horses. They can take big steps forward here, but I think Mystical Power's got the stronger form. The other thing as well is this is plan A for Mystical Power. I think it's fair to say it's probably plan C or D for Sir Gino, who is only here replacing Constitution Hill. Based on this bit of work, I think is fair to say. Although whether it was related to this work or not, Constitution Hill was he was lame, wasn't he? A couple of days after this. But
this is Constitution Hill on the left against the rail.
This is Constitution Hill on the left and Sir Gino on the right. Now it's very hard to know where we stand here because we should not forget Constitution Hill is a horse who suffered colic last year. He also had breathing issues, and you know he was part of a stable who, remember around Cheltenham, the Henderson team were not going yard, so it's impossible to know where Constitution Hill was in his fitness here. You can see him there, he looks quite barrelly and big. You know, I can imagine he probably needed the gallop more. The only real massive negative for me about that gallop of Constitution is it was falling so close to the fighting fifth. You know, because I don't know where he was. But it's because of that gallop Sir Gino is here. But I just like Mystical Power. You know, he's incredibly well bred, a son of Galileo, out of any power, but I think he just took an age for the penny to drop last year. He was still raw in the Supreme, he was still raw at Aintree, but at Punchestown, lads, the penny finally looked to be dropping. He got a little bit warm before the race, he travelled everywhere, and I thought he did really well to pick up Firefox, who was given a good ride by Jack Kennedy. But the way Mystical Power picked him up, given the way the race panned out, I thought it was a really, really good performance. He's only getting better, and I think good ground on Saturday is going to be much more in his favour as well compared to Sir Gino.
And we'll be seeing him in different silks as well because of the ownership makeup of him.
Yes.
Of course. So we've got JP McManus, we've got Susanna Ritchie and Magna as well. So sporting the colours of his Damn Annie power this time around, Sam.
Yeah, and Dec has left me nothing to say because I'm in...
Wait till you get to me.
I keep forgetting that sometimes we land on the same horse and I just get this tunnel vision of kind of looking at my notes, get out all these points. I'm sorry.
Well, they were all good points, Dec, because I'm in complete agreement. And looking at this market, this is a really good exercise in I think, you're choosing between potential and what you've seen so far. And I completely agree with Dec. I don't think Sir Gino's had an awful lot of opportunities to prove his form. Obviously, he missed Cheltenham last year because of what was going on, and the Aintree win was great. I'm not going to crab that. And I suppose you look at what Burdett Rose achieved, who he beat earlier on in the season. There's enough substance there to suggest that he'll be a really nice horse. I completely agree on the concerns around the fact that this is Plan B. Hate that. I really don't like that. I know you'll probably say, well, hang on a minute, Sam, you tipped a horse earlier on in the show.
I wasn't going to say Jericho de Bromhead. I wasn't going to say.
But it's kind of more with a younger horse I'd have more concerns. And going back to something that you've achieved and done well in is a bit different. This is a step into company. And as Dex pointed out, we've got a good field here. There'll be a pace on. There's no hiding place. It's not going to be too tactical. Mystical Power for me, the ground's a massive positive. I did notice Newcastle put some water down, Deck, I believe.
Yeah.
For the weather.
It's bonkers. Newcastle are basically unofficially good ground. And down at Newbury, well, it's usually the other way around. They're on good to soft, I think, on the chase track and soft on the hurdle track.
So Mystical Power for me, just to reiterate, all Deck's points basically, and I thought this is a price thing as well. If you flip the prices, maybe I could make a bit more of a strong play, but odds on about Sir Gino, happy to leave well alone. I thought 6-4 was very big. Of the others in there, I'll make a case for lump sum in my long shot later on in the show because I actually felt like I was trying to find something for the each way play, given we've got a double-digit field, which is fantastic. And I thought lump sum maybe would be the one with a fitness edge and a bit of a class angle. And of course, if Jericho de Bromhead wins, that'd be a nice form boost for him as well.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Now, if we haven't had much meat left on the bone for Sam's point, wait until we've got to me, because Mystical Power for me as well here. Well, again, it is just for price dictated, isn't it? Whereas Sir Gino, he could be this absolute superstar, but how many times have we been stung by juvenile horses going up against open company, despite looking like superstars? And for all that I do think size, scope, everything about Sir Gino suggests that he will be up to it, he's still got to prove it. That's still the question mark that he's got hanging over him. Rather than Mystical Power, as you've both said, he's gone there and proven it. Now, he is a hot-headed type. I obviously saw him at Cheltenham in the mornings, and he was the noticeable one because he was this ball of muscle. He was so sweaty. It wasn't warm at Cheltenham this year in the mornings, and he was like foaming kind of all over where his martingale was. So he is a hot headed, buzzy kind of type. However, as you said, Dec, the fact that the penny was just dropping for him more and more so, it makes perfect sense for me because of that personality that he has. And when we saw him signing off, his jumping was slicker. He wasn't making those silly errors. He was concentrating more. So I'm just hoping he's not going to be too fresh for this and he will be able to do himself justice. So again, yeah, price dictated, 6-4.
You said we didn't leave any meat in the bones for you, but the two of us missed an important point of 4-year-olds struggling this kind of season.
Oh, there you go.
So
I'm happy to fill in.
So hopefully we've got all angles covered here in Mystical Powerball. So
I'm happy just to pick up the crumbs and do what I can with them. But yeah, Sir Gino 4-5, all three of us over Mystical Power, hoping after Garlaw finished second for us.
One better, please, gang.
One better then, hopefully, for the three of us agreeing. Now we're going to stick at Newcastle, this time for the 320, the Rehearsal handicap chase, another Premier handicap. 4-year-olds and over 2 miles 7. So another staying chase, really competitive contest to the 4, Sam.
Yeah, great to see so many Southern trainers sending up their horses as well, because we've got a strong field here. And I actually think it's one of the more interesting betting races of the entire Saturday. The Changing Man for me, though, I am all over this Tizard horse. The Tizard team really have hit the ground running this season, and their strike rate's pretty good the last 2 weeks, having plenty of winners. And you could argue this horse, on pieces of form, looks incredibly well handicapped. How literally you want to read into the Grey Dawning effort, where he finished just behind Stay Away Faye last season, and Grey Dawning was in third, is potentially a question mark. Obviously, he then went on to run at Warwick, didn't he, in January, and Grey Dawning well and truly reversed that. But that was a really classy field. We had the likes of Broadway Boy in there and Apple Away. And I kind of just really keep coming back to this mark. I think he's feasibly treated. I don't often like backing one off the back of a fool, but I just have to put a line through that Wincanton race. Obviously, it was run at a really frantic pace, and up to the issue he had at the fence, he was jumping well. I really think a test like this will suit. It's been a little while since we've seen him win. He signed off last season with the second at Uttoxeter. I just hope he can put his jumping all together, but I think there's definitely a big handicap in him. And this kind of test at 2-7 round Newcastle, I think should really suit. I think it's pretty significant that they're choosing to go here and try and plunder a decent pot. You've got Bow to Greatness in there as well, Neil Moon. There's some really nice staying chasers in here, but for me, the Changing Man, I thought, was the one off that mark. Definitely.
Who's the part owner of Bow to Greatness?
BetVictor brand ambassador Harry Redknapp.
Nicely done. You're in a bouncy mood as well today. All for horses to bounce back to form.
Yeah, I'm
is what it is. Yes,
it feels
it
like
very
today.
much so. Jericho
You weren't half one in the office this morning.
We won't break down the fourth wall now for that. We won't get into that now. But yeah, Jericho de Bromhead after pulling up on his season, Davey. The Changing Man after falling. So yeah, in the bouncy mood.
A very forgiving man today.
Very forgiving man. You do have to be in this game for sure, but 5-1 shot about the Changing Man off of this mark does look pretty feasibly treated.
Absolutely, he could be chucked in, to be fair, on some of his form last year. I just wonder about his jumping and just his confidence, because I think he unseated earlier in his career as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he fell last time out when he was running big. But I can definitely see that, you know, if he does get his jumping together and Brendan Powell can get him into a nice rhythm there, he could absolutely bolt up. There's quite a bit of pace in here early. I think Bow to Greatness will go forward, won't he? Blackjack Magic as well will be in there, and the Venetia William horse, Ferrero Bamboo, he will go forward as well. And they start on the bend, if you remember, and there's a nice run to the first fence. And I think the early skirmishes of this race, there's going to be well run, and I think that will suit my horse Neon Moon, because he looked in rude health at Ascot last time out. He travelled around there and jumped really well, looked like he'd been in great order, and he did win in the start beforehand at Chepstow, but I think he's taken a little jump forward for that form. And you know, I don't think he's going to bump into the likes of a Chianto Classico here, and high stakes players actually running this weekend as well there in second. I think he has a good chance as well. But the big thing for me is I think the slight drop in trip is going to help him. I think 3 miles is just about the stretches his stamina, and I think getting back on some good ground will help. Getting back left-handed will help as well, because he jumped a little bit left at Ascot, and I can see him travelling really well down to 4 out under Conor O'Farrell, who is reacquainting with the pipe team, which is nice, because I think he started his British career there, so it'd be nice for Conor and his team to to ride a nice winner for the Pipes. Not just because I backed it, but, you know, a bit of history, a bit of friendship and all that. But I think he'll go well. I just hope Conor can just fill him up with confidence and fill him up.
Yeah, was it Verlion Rouge that Conor O'Farrell and the Pipes were teaming up with? They had plenty of good days together then with that horse. But yeah, no matter how many times I see Neon Moon in the flesh running on the track, I will never be able to get it into my head that he's not grey. I don't know why. I can't get it into my head. It surprised me again there, seeing the little clip of him. But yeah, 6-1 shot in here. Now I'm going for a slightly bigger price one with Jet Plane at 10-1. Now again, I've run the trends on this race. Haven't got a graphic for this one, unfortunately. So you're just going to have to take my word for this one or do your own work and go back through and see what I'm talking about. But Jet Plane was the one who ticked the most amount of boxes. Now we're looking back at his success at Newton Abbot last October. Now this day was his first success going left-handed, which is actually pretty key. When you look at the Rehearsal chase as a whole, there are a lot of horses that prefer to go right-handed in there rather than left. So this for him was just another case of him being able to prove a slight question mark he had hanging over him, another box ticked then for him. Now I really like him in here because you want an 8 or a 10-year-old rated 139 to 143, races prominently, one run ideally, didn't have to run well last time out. Ideally that came in a small runner field, and then you've got 1 month to 8 weeks since that most recent start as well. Now there were no standouts as such this year then for this race to tick all those boxes, but the one who did the most was of course Jet Plane, third on his reappearance last time out. He had a really likeable race at Wetherby behind Jaguar. He hit a bit of a flat spot, he then stayed on, £9 higher for that, well, when he was running in that than he was for last season. But the way that he stayed on just suggested that this mark wasn't beyond him. So Jet Plane at 10s for me. Sam, you are with
Changing Man is going to hopefully change fortune and not fool.
Nice, and Deck.
And hopefully I'll be howling at Newbury if Neon Moon wins.
Perfect. Oh, you two. Yeah, have you had my whole entire time tipping up Jet Plane to think of those puns? Ah, well, they managed to achieve it anyway. Right, next thing for us, though, is going to be heading over to the sofa for our best bets of the weekend. Right, it's time for our best bets of the weekend. So, Deck, where are we going for yours?
We are going to go to Newcastle, which is live on Sky Sports Racing, along with Newbury this weekend. Brilliant weekend for the channel. And the boost is going to be Mystical Power. I think he should be fav, as we've already discussed earlier in the show, and the boost will make it even more enticing. So I'm sure he will have plenty of fans, as will Sir Gino. But for me, Mystical Power, as stated earlier in the show, should be fav, and I am more than happy to take that 7-4. So mucho gracias to the traders at BetVictor. Now, the next best is going to be high stakes player in the Sir Peter O'Sullivan chase at Newbury tomorrow. I think there's plenty of horses there that have question marks, but this guy jumps and he travels for fun, and I think the trip is actually the key to him. It's like an extended 2 miles, 6.5, which will really play to him. I think the full 3 miles probably just stretches him a little bit, so he will do for me for the Tom Lacey team. And then the long shot we've already discussed as well, just about scraped in at the long shot at 10-1. Aston Martin for the Nicky Henderson team, who have a fabulous record in this race. Loved her comeback at Bangor, where she looked in rude health and the race didn't fall kindly for her. Probably a little bit disappointed if a mare rated 123 wins this, but it doesn't look a great race, and she's clearly in form, so she will do for me.
That's a nice boost as well, 6-4 to 7-4, then about Mystical Power. The fact that we've both sided with him as well, we're likely to be utilising that, Sam.
Yeah, that was going to be my nap, but Declan got there first, so well done, Declan.
He was rapid, wasn't he, with that one?
I was determined to make sure we got a boost in there, so Declan's managed to...
Well, every now and again I get a message from, mate, can we have your nap, please, your boost? And I got in early and I'm still getting pelters. Like, can't win.
Stole our one.
Yes, I should add as well, this week we've obviously gone back to boosting on the day, because Declan's going to potentially clean us out with that boost on Broadway Boy last week with the anti-poster. Well done, Dec. Should we take a look at what I'm going to tip? There's enough talk about him. For me, the nap this week, I'm going with a bit of a flyer. I'm actually going to go for a big price nap. I get a little bit of stick, don't I, on the odd occasion that I don't go for anything that's a bit of a price. But the Changing Man for me, boosted to 13-2. That will do nicely for the Tizard team, who are absolutely flying at the moment. I think this is a really good selection of target. Yes, the fall last time out would temper your enthusiasm potentially, but I just think that mark of 130 is so workable on his best foot forward. He should be winning a contest like this at some point this season. Fingers crossed it's at Newcastle. My next best, we've already spoken extensively about this horse. I just think Mystical Power for me, the front two in the betting, is a real bet. At 6-4, get that boost at BetVictor Weekend Winners microsite, and you will get 7-4. Now, the long shot. Now, this is a bit of a curious one. I really struggled this week. I was getting a lot of pressure from the producer. He was saying, come on, Sam, stop mucking around. I was being a bit half empty, a bit complaining. So the only long shot I really found that I liked actually comes in the Fighting Fifth. I thought Lump Sum was an interesting each-way play, trying to find an angle with the enough runners in there to get 3 places. I really don't like Sir Gino odds on. Yes, I really like Mystical Power from a win perspective, but if there was any sort of doubt around fitness, Willie Mullins maybe just a couple of weeks behind, given how dry it had been in October. I thought Lump Sum could be really well placed. Obviously, like the form with Gerry Feilden, and I felt at 14-1, I think that price was 12-1, something like that. It was a bit of an each-way stab if you wanted to take on the front two, which I thought I was just trying to find an angle, really. But yeah, those are the best bets this week. Kate, going to add something on yours.
Yes.
We usually boost the naps when we're boosting weekly racing, but the sort of trader said, you know what, the big race at Newbury needs a boost, so that's why it's your next best coming up this boost.
Yes, exactly. So we mix it up a little bit this week, where both of your 2 naps have been boosted. My next best has been boosted. However, though, my nap is going to be Queen's Gamble, who I mentioned earlier on, of course, in the Gerry Feilden, taking on Jericho de Repene, who I just worry about him bouncing back instantly after that Chasing Davy flop last time out, rather than Queen's Gamble. I think she's well treated here. Yes, we haven't seen her for a long time, but we know it wasn't a big setback that she suffered. Connections were happy to turn her out and then save her for this season, so hopefully that patience is rewarded. Now, my boosted horse, 6-1 to 15-2, about Senior Chief as the Tracey's Trends horse for the Coral Gold Cup. Broadway Boy, as we said earlier on, wasn't far away on the Trends front, but Senior Chief comes here in good form, should be ridden prominently on the back of his success over 3 Mile 1 at Cheltenham last time out, proving himself on good ground in the process as well, so he won't mind what the ground turns up like. And Kinondo Queto at 25-1 in the Rehearsal chase was going to be, or is, the long shot for this one. Now, I don't think this is a vintage renewal of the Rehearsal chase, so the top weights therefore should have a good chance as a class advantage. Now, Marble Sands is for top weight. Next in is Kinondo Queto, though, who was pulled up when last seen. Now, that was in the aforementioned really competitive handicap chase at Cheltenham behind Senior Chief, though. So hopefully, if we get a little bit of form boost and form franking there, that's going to be ideal. Yes, he's still high in the handicap, but if he returns to form here, this is an ideal race for him, despite his running style isn't ideal for this, but he's still a classy operator, still more to come, still only an 8-year-old as well. But Senior Chief, 15-2 from 6-1 boosted for me ahead of the Coral Gold Cup. Right, that is everything from us on this week's show. So a big thanks to the lads for all of their hard work, as per usual. Sam, you're off to Newbury.
I am looking forward to it. Should be a good card. Fingers crossed we find a winner or two.
Hopefully so. Hopefully we can start building the momentum them into Saturday as well. But as I say, that is everything from us in this week's show. So a big thank you to all of you for watching. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. We'll be back at the same time next Friday to preview Sandown and Aintree.